episode of Pit Lane Parlay.
Welcome to another episode of Pit Lane Parlay. My name is host Mike Jokum. Jess and Matt are both joining me this evening. But first, I just want to say thank you to our presenting sponsor, GripMat, gripmat.com, the world's first flexible non-slip tool mat developed by an Air Force mechanic. If you use promo code PLP10, you get 10% off. And thank you to Mr. George Butts for the first order earlier this week on that front. And with that, guys, how we doing with no race last weekend? Getting a little impatient.
Well, I got to have some bougie cheese last weekend, courtesy of my parents. I got a lot of flack for that my week off, I'll tell you.
Glad.
It was Havarti. I had Havarti cheese on a bagel breakfast sandwich. I'll tell you what, the Kraft American single is much better in my opinion.
You poor thing.
They're trying. They're trying to do the cheese intervention for you guys. They're slowly but surely trying. So we'll give my parents some credit.
We're gonna the next time we see you, we're just gonna slip you in a little cheese. Did you notice that?
I'll instantly be disgusted and say this isn't Kraft American Singles. Yeah. Well, and today is Wednesday. Happy birthday, our buddy George Butts' nuts.
Oh, yeah, happy birthday, George. So, yeah, let's dive right into it. Plenty to talk about, but lots of fan questions. Probably the biggest news, and I guess the only news that's come out in the past week or so is INDYCAR engine announcement, which caught me off guard. I walked out of a meeting and had about 87 text messages. Did you see it? Did you see it? And so for those who maybe have not been on the internet in the past 2 weeks, INDYCAR announced a new engine formula starting in 2022. Both Honda and Chevy are on board. A quick rundown before we kind of dive into it and maybe do some debate here. Jay Frye's goal is to get to 900 horsepower with a 2.4-liter twin turbo, which is just a little bit of an increase on the liter size of an engine and, about a 200-ish, 300-ish increase in horsepower. But Jay did say that 900 is the goal, but maybe in 2022 they start with 870, 880, depending on how things shake out. But before we dive into what the engine is for those who are wondering and debate it, guys, what are our initial thoughts?
I'm excited. Bring it on. I think everybody's kind of antsy and ready for it. Let's see what it can do. And 200 horsepower is a lot, so I think it's going to be fun to watch.
On paper, everything seems in order. I really like what I've been seeing so far. I think there may be a hiccup or two when it comes to test time, which I know we're quite a ways away from, so there's plenty of time to prepare. Just given the complexity of everything, just something new for INDYCAR to kind of test out, and Honda and Chevrolet as well. So a little curious to see how the testing goes. But yeah, on paper, I'm really excited with what I see.
Yeah, I think both you guys are spot on there. It feels like this is one of those stories that probably since we started this podcast, we've been waiting for and talking about every now and then. I know Jess and I asked Jay about the engine stuff back in May, and he wanted to say more and was frustrated by the lack of progress. And all of a sudden, they make these tweaks, and all of a sudden now we've got a new engine formula and lots of excitement. So just to give everybody a quick rundown of how it works, the cars will be fitted with an energy recovery device that regains energy when cars break, similar to the old F1 KERS system. So this new ability to store electricity allows drivers to start and restart their cars from in the cockpit. So no more stalls when they spin on a road course. And so, yeah, no more phantom yellow flags that some have been lamenting online. But all in all, I think it's a great system there. And also the kind of cool safety feature that they've added in here is the cars will have a mandatory safety light in place, letting safety workers know it is safe to touch the car. Obviously, with an electronic system in the car, things heat up pretty quick. So, even from a safety perspective, at least right now, things seem to be, they're checking off the right boxes. So, guys, I have a list of debate topics here. Let's run down and see what we think. I'm going to skip around on the list here. So Jay Frye's mantra back in, when Jess and I talked, and he said this probably about 840 times, is fast, loud, authentic, and unapologetic. Is this sticking to the system?
Yeah, I think when it comes to, if we go down the list here, fast, yes, it should definitely be a lot faster given that huge increase in horsepower. Loud and unapologetic, I guess that's to be determined. It depends how much we trust what Marshall Pruitt was telling us a couple of weeks ago, where he was saying, hey, this is what they do in endurance racing, and those cars are every bit as loud as Indy cars. Every bit as loud as just, normal engine cars. So I think that the cars hopefully will sound really good and be that loud kind of throwbacky sounds that we're used to, and hopefully the authentic. This isn't very IndyCar. It's nothing they've done before in the past, but I don't see how it changes anything per se or takes away from IndyCar. So I think definitely fast. I guess that's the most important of the four if you're asking for my opinion on that one. So that's good.
I think it might be too early to tell. All we know is kind of what they are shooting for. We haven't seen, any testing. Obviously, we're not even close to that point yet. So I think it's too early to actually comment on that. But I have to trust Jay Frye because he's never steered us wrong so far. So I'm going to say that he obviously has a plan in place and he's got something up his sleeve, and it's going to stick with his mantra and the way that he wants IndyCar to continue to go.
Yeah, it'll definitely be fast. It'll be authentic in its own IndyCar way. I'm most excited that it'll definitely, and I think we'll probably touch on this in a minute here, bring back some innovation. Loud, yeah, I'm sure they'll find a way to make it loud. Will it sound different? Probably, but I think that's fine. It's going to it's really going to help IndyCar in the long run. So hats off to Jay. In Jay Frye we trust. Maybe that needs to be an episode title again. So speaking of kind of a couple things I just touched on here. Do you guys think that, going this hybrid route is the best bet for IndyCar to get a third engine manufacturer on board?
100%. I think we kind of touched on it a little bit before. Obviously hybrids are the way that the majority of street cars are going. And I think that IndyCar kind of following that trend is, it's kind of just what IndyCar does. They kind of follow the trends of being a testing ground. So I definitely think that it's the best way to get a third OEM in there, just because, this is what they want to produce and want to sell to the average person. So if they can show their stuff off to IndyCar fans, the more eyes, the better for them.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, I think Formula One kind of saw the writing on the wall leading up to their 2014 rule changes, and they were actually able to keep a lot of their manufacturers in the fold just because they switched to that hybrid technology. Fans may not have liked it as much because it did kind of weaken their engines a little, but definitely kept the manufacturers in the fold, which is always crucial to a series success. So going by that logic, I think, IndyCar should have no problem, especially since that's the way the world's trending at the moment. I'm excited to see what names pop up, and hopefully we can just get pen to paper here and take a little stress off of Jay Frye so that we can get a third OEM signed.
Yeah, very well said. I'm not going to debate anything you guys said on this one, so I will just simply move on to the next one. A couple months ago, there was some pretty strong rumors that this potential third engine manufacturer would be Porsche or one of the German, I think it was Volkswagen brands. Volkswagen has about 87 brands under its name. That might be an exaggeration, but
it's probably close.
I know. So do we think that the third engine manufacturer might still be a German type, or, has this kind of reopened doors for, maybe another engine manufacturer that wasn't considering IndyCar, but now they hear hybrid and they thought, maybe this is something we need to do?
Yeah, I mean, well, it was Porsche that was demanding IndyCar needed to go to hybrids for them to come in, right?
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, if allegedly they demanded that, then now they should allegedly think about joining, question mark. At least that's kind of what I said, because with what Jay Frye had proposed, it didn't seem like Porsche wanted it. So you'd think they'd be back in the fold, question mark. Otherwise, I saw something where Hyundai was apparently trying to figure out if they were trying to get back into racing, or I don't even know if they've ever been in racing. I think we touched on that like a year ago, but I don't necessarily think it's going to be German, but I think with the announcement, maybe Porsche might be back in the fold after all.
I definitely don't think it can hurt anything. As far as it being a German company, for sure, I don't know. I mean, I think it definitely opens up the potential for other manufacturers to start thinking about it, start looking at it. Like I said, I think that it gives them more eyes on their brand. And frankly, that's kind of what everybody is looking for. So I think that it's kind of an open field.
Yeah, and to touch on Matt's point, I'm pretty sure, and as you would say, Matt, am reading right now, that Hyundai does have some racing program, not too much. Apparently, as of yesterday, they're joining the electric racing circuit in some capacity. It doesn't sound like Formula E, but they are on the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge Series this year. So, we'll see. I think we'll be surprised with who it is in a good way. So, moving on, the last bit of engine discussion I have listed here is one that we all talk about, whether it be 33 cars starting the 500 or bump day or whatever. Are we taking the traditionalist viewpoint of, well, it's not a traditional, gas only car versus the new hybrid, or are we sitting the innovation route? So some people are, if you read the Facebook comments, which have been highly entertaining or frustrating depending on how you look at it this week. So guys, are we team innovation or team traditionalist?
It's fuel, not gas.
Well, thanks, Jess.
Sorry. I just had to stick that in there.
Oh, come on, soundboard guy. That should deserve an applause.
I was booing myself.
Oh, okay. I think you're booing Jess.
So, I mean, I think you guys have listened to me talk enough to know that I typically will always go with the traditionalist route. But on this one, I think this could possibly be the traditionalist route. Like I said earlier, IndyCar has always, all the way back to the very first 500, been a proving ground for different manufacturers. And I think that if they use this correctly, this could also be a proving ground for new hybrid engines. So I think that it honestly can kind of fit in both camps for me, but I like it. I mean, as much as I am a traditionalist, I think it's going to be good for the series.
Yeah, my criteria is kind of just, does the racing get better? And in my opinion, it should, given the higher speeds. Like Jess said, they're still testing, so it's not, a given that the more horsepower will lead to higher speeds, but just conventional wisdom says it should. So if the speed stays the same, the racing stays good, and then that noise factor, which again is just something that attracts fans and makes us think of races from yesteryear. If those two things stay the same, then to be honest, I don't really mind all that much what's powering the car. I just want to see the racing good, and I just want to see a really, sorry, I had to self-censor myself, a really good engine in the back. That'll work. So that's my goal with this, and hopefully this can be accomplished with all the hard work from IndyCar.
Yeah, I think in this case, I'm 100% team innovation. Anytime it has anything to do with safety or engine stuff or aerodynamics, the more innovation, the more eyes are on IndyCar. So with that, I think that'll settle the engine debate for now. But for those who really want a deep dive into what IndyCar is envisioning and how it works, go to Racer, read Marshall Pruitt's articles. They're very detailed. If you read Robin Miller's mailbag, in almost every answer, he just wrote, please read what Robin Miller wrote. I'm sorry, please read what Marshall Pruitt wrote. They're very detailed and pretty spot on. So with that, a quick shout out to all of our awesome Patreon subscribers that are, now too many to list in 1 week or one episode. And happy birthday, as Matt said, to Patreon subscriber, our buddy George. And yeah.
Yeah, good man, George. Happy birthday. Hopefully you had a great day there. We'll roll into our first fan question. This kind of touches on a bit of news that just came out, actually a couple hours from our episode today, Wednesday, in regards to Rahal, Letterman, Lanigan Racing and their intent to add a third car. And I guess it's not actually really a fan question. I guess it's just a me question to you three. With adding that third car, first off, do you guys think it will happen? And then even if you guys say no, let's just hypothetically say yes. Who do you think they would pick to drive that third car for them?
I'll put myself on the spot here to give Jess an extra second. Yes, so I'm not going to say 100% yes, but I would say, I don't know, maybe a 75% chance. I've heard this talked around the paddock quite a bit, especially since Toronto. So, it's, from Toronto, it was, we're looking into a little bit. And I heard somebody say in Mid-Ohio that it's a very, strong possibility. Bobby Rahal mentions in the interview that, hey, we're looking at Felipe Nasser. That would be a good pick. Apparently, he was very good at his IndyCar tests. Where did he test? Mid-Ohio a couple weeks ago?
Yes.
Thank you. If it's not him, it really all depends on how the Harding-Steinbrenner thing shakes out. But I could see that being, a good spot for an Indy Lights champion, or maybe, let's say Oliver Askew wins the championship. Rinus VeeKay, I know he's got money and he wants to move up. So I think that would be a good spot for him to learn from, Bobby Rahal and Graham and Takuma.
I could see that. But I'm going to say that, yes, it is going to happen also. I will say my confidence level is maybe an 85%, so just slightly higher than yours. I think there's still a few more cogs that need to fall into place before it gets totally done, but I definitely feel like it's going the right direction. I'm going to go out here and say that I could see a Connor Daly. He's got some experience, but he's just not ever kind of had everything fall into place at the right time. And it could be the right time for him. Kind of just a random car that came out of nowhere, and he happens to get some sponsors on board because of his good showings this year. So I could see something like that happening.
Yeah, I think, I'm on board. I think it's going to happen. I think it's, we'll go 80% possibility. And as far as the driver, I think you guys mentioned a couple good names there. One that was pointed out to me is, obviously you guys did a really good job of touching on, Schmidt-Peterson last week and McLaren rumors and possibly therefore having to switch to Chevy. Well, that would leave Hinch kind of in a limbo there, because I think Honda really, obviously with the ad campaign, really wants to stick around with Hinch. And so therefore he's probably going to have to switch teams to Honda teams. So I think Rahal might not be a bad option for him in the third car with the Honda engine there. But kind of out of left field in a more personal world, I would really love to see Spencer Pigot end up there just for whatever reason, just because I feel like he's kind of trapped at Ed Carpenter right now. It's a good seat for him just to stay in the series and stay relevant. But, I don't think it's going to be a championship contending ride anytime soon unless something kind of miraculous happens. So if somehow Pigot, who has driven with Rahal before, I think that was actually the very first ride, he used his scholarship there in 2016, my memory serves correct. So, he does have some familiarity with Bobby Rahal. So out of left field, I want to see Pigot there.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned Hinch, because I said that to our buddy Jim Aiello a couple of weeks ago. I said, what if they put Hinch in that seat if things shake out the way they might? And so great suggestion there. I think it's definitely possible.
Yeah, and actually another friend of mine, Sean Kennedy, actually said the same thing too on Twitter. So shout out, Sean. I wasn't trying to steal your idea. I knew I saw it somewhere, but it was actually a really good plausibility there.
All right. So moving on, we will ask our first actual fan question of the evening. This one is coming from our Patreon member, Mr. Michael Goodyear. And yes, I know I'm not saying that right, but whatever. Okay, so rumor has it, guys, that Pocono could be leaving the schedule for next year. And then ABC Supply Company here recently has been the sponsor for that race. So do you guys think that that would potentially free up some of their budget to help AJ Foyt? Well, we'll say more than they already are.
I'll go first in this one. I'm not sure what's going to help AJ Foyt Enterprises at the moment. I don't think more money might be the answer because it sounds like their funding isn't half bad. It's just that the resources they get may be misallocated in the offseason to the point where they're not improving, which is a concern. And I think that's been the concern with them for the last couple of years. So I'm not sure more money would help. I think if anything, more money might be just maybe hiring better people behind the scenes to help kind of the engineering staff in the development of the cars and the shocks and whatnot in the off season. So I guess in that sense, it's going to help, but it's not like they're down on equipment as far as their cars. They're, they're well staffed. They got, good equipment as far as they have all the resources they need. They just need to figure out kind of the inner workings of the car. So I'm not sure if an exuberant amount of money will help. And I also don't think that just because ABC Supply stops sponsoring a race, that it means it automatically just gets reallocated to the team. So I'm not sure about that one.
I want to first say I hope, because Pocono is 45 minutes up the road from me, the team who works at Pocono are some of the friendliest, track people, in the entire circuit. So I hope it doesn't go away. But if it does, man, I don't. The other thing I can add to what Matt just said is maybe, if Mateus Lice is so fed up and doesn't want to go back to Foyt next year, they can use some of that extra money to entice somebody to come on board that maybe otherwise wouldn't. I'm probably grasping at straws there. Yes, I know, but just throwing it out there.
I'm going to go with no, but mine's going to be a completely different reason. I'm going to say no because typically, and this isn't necessarily the case with this particular deal because I obviously don't know the inner workings of AJ Foyt Enterprises, but typically a sponsor deal will be done well in advance and typically for a few years at a time. So I can't imagine that it's all going to magically fall in place, that it's going to be a contract year for them and Pocono is going to fall off the schedule and all of these little things are going to fall into place where they're like, okay, we're just going to reallocate that all to you. So I'm just going from that view that no, it's probably not going to help them.
Well said. And I got the Stump the Host this week, so that's the next topic here. But I got like a fake Stump the Host and a real Stump the Host. So my fake one is kind of just simply yes, no. Have you guys ever been to Wahlburgers ever?
Yes.
No.
So the first question is, what do they call the American cheese that they put on their burgers?
Nothing, because that place stinks.
Come on. What's wrong with Wahlburgers? I got one in the Mall of America. It's okay. It's not the best burger I've had, but it's not bad.
Oh, no good. No,
All
I'm
right.
not even going to give that question an answer.
Well, they call it government cheese, so I figured that might cheer you up a little bit. And
That's so true, though.
well,
Fine. You win this round.
all right. Well, at least you can give them that, right? You can at least say that they're witty in that sense. All right. So my real one is so we just got talking about Ray Hall and the possibility of running 3 cars. And so, Mike, before you freak out after asking the question, there is hints that will accompany you if you guys need them. So don't just immediately give up. But so this one is this: they've run 3 full-time cars in the past. And so the first time they did it was a little bit ago. It wasn't terribly long ago. It was definitely probably within the times that we've been watching. So my question to you is, what year was it? And who were the 3 drivers driving for them when they had 3 full-time drivers in IndyCar?
Oh, yeah.
The dramatic pause says that we both are staring at the wall going,
Here, I have an answer for you.
It's a
All right,
dog.
let's go.
Rafa Matos.
No, not quite. All right, so the first hint as far as the year, it's the year that Dan Weldon won the championship and his first Indy 500 with
Buddy
Andretti.
2005.
That's 2005. And then so as far as the drivers,
Buddy Rice.
that's one.
I just said that.
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear you.
So
Yeah.
we're going to have to give that to Jess because we don't have official audio recording of that. Who about the other two?
That is some, you know what, I can't really say what it is, but
Self-censorship. It's the theme of the episode here.
Danica Patrick.
That's two.
Vitor Mira.
That's three. See, you didn't even need the hints after that. So they did have Buddy Rice and Danica Patrick, who notoriously did not get along that year. And then Vitor Mira, who was in like the bright yellow and blue Menards car, if I remember correctly. Actually had a pretty decent year. I mean,
Vitor always did decent. He was always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
wait, so here was my three hints I was going to give you guys. One was an Indy 500 winner. One is the driver to start the most races without a win. And one currently dates somebody who's a resident of Wisconsin.
Yeah,
But I don't think they're dating anymore.
Are they not?
No, I think they've been broke up for a while.
we need
Oh.
we need a gossip expert.
You need to get with the current times.
Well, he's a Packer, so I'm sure Lighting's got an update for me at some point. I'm sure he's following that.
David,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they haven't been dating for a minute.
Oh.
Like since the beer drinking challenge thing, he had a different girl with him.
Oh, that was the daughter of the owner of the Bucks, if I'm not mistaken, who also had a beef with Drake after that game for some reason. I'm not really hip enough to understand what happened there, but I just know of it.
Me either.
Yeah, but anyways,
So
Aaron Rodgers annoys me. That's all I gotta say. That's why I kind of miss when he and Danica were dating. They were just the best for each other.
They were a couple made in heaven or something. Okay, well, moving on. Let's move on, guys, because I just really don't want to talk about Danica Patrick's dating life anymore. So we're going to do the famous Jess's Joker lap. And this time, I am going to make you guys, well, we just have like a conversation about this, sort of. So you guys are going to be sponsors, okay? So you guys are sponsors this week. And you are going to be coming into the series in 2022. Hey, imagine that. Because what's coming in 2022?
Danica?
I don't know. What is?
I really hope Danica is not. The new engine.
Oh. Yeah. we did talk about that.
So you guys, I need you to tell me what company you guys are with, who you think is going to go, you know, kind of coincide with the new engine. And I want you to tell me why you want to get into INDYCAR now.
Is it too early for me to say Kraft?
Nope. Why do you want to get an INDYCAR?
To prove that American singles are the best thing ever?
Oh boy.
Okay, no, I need a second to think about a real one.
Your marketing plan failed. And
Oh no, that was not my real answer. Give me a second.
I hope when Matt's parents listen to this episode, they just shake their head in sadness that this is what they have created.
I
Ouch.
feel like they're going to.
I got a full week of it. Don't worry. I'm fully aware, okay?
So a
You just need to broaden the horizons a little bit.
Hey, I had Havarti, which I also don't know how to spell. So
Which you also said was disgusting. So
no, that's not what I said. I said American single was better.
I
Havarti,
think
it was
you said It was
okay.
disgusting.
It was
You were
okay.
disgusted, is what you said.
Did I? Well,
Something to that effect. I think so.
when I listen to it on Friday, I'll be like, yep, I did say that. Whoops.
Yeah, you did say it was disgusting.
All right. Well, sorry. Jess is right. Mike, what's your answer?
Some sort of company. I can't think of a name right now, and I'm trying to Google it.
You're trying to Google a company?
Yes.
Okay.
That makes, so apparently Panasonic makes the batteries that go in a Tesla car. So something that is hybrid related, but not necessarily the engine manufacturer. Anything to get the word about, electric technology and hybrid technology out there more. I don't know what that is because I'm looking it up as we speak and not finding anything because I Googled electric battery for car and that didn't really work too well.
What happened to your cheating game?
It's really down when it comes to things I don't understand.
You can Google Scott Dixon's nationality just fine, but you can't.
No, I can't do that one either.
Okay, Jess, so quick clarification. Does it have to be technology related?
No.
Okay. Because in that sense, if it was technology related, I'd be pretty stumped. If it was just whoever.
I mean, you got to give the reason why. So it would just, in my eyes, I would probably pick some sort of technology, but.
I mean, I don't know enough about Cosworth to know if they have like a big footprint in the world of electronics. I know they're super big in racing. I just don't know if they do like other electronic stuff because they are a pivotal part of INDYCAR and did a great job with the new LED screens on the steering wheels. So if Cosworth for some reason needed to get their name more out there, I would love to see them on the side of a car. And so if I somehow worked in their marketing division, I would definitely sponsor Spencer Pigot in his Team Penske ride in 2022.
All right. I like it.
I'm sorry, was Mike, were you still cheating or were you?
I got nothing else.
Oh, okay. Sorry,
okay. Yeah.
There we go. Oh, I don't know. Did you want to throw out a name, Jess, or is that not how the Joker lap works?
I mean, I didn't do anything with the chef one because we got so tickled by the bougie cheese that
Tickled.
On the soundboard.
No, I was just wondering if you had one, but if you don't, that's totally cool.
But I would say a technology company, and I kind of like where Mike's mind was going with something to do with the hybrid thing that wasn't necessarily like, Chevy. But I don't know, again, without doing a bunch of research, because I just throw these out randomly and I don't do any research on them either. I know, I mean, maybe even just Tesla would be an interesting sponsor for a race or a team, just because, they're probably never going to get into the INDYCAR engine manufacturing, but it would be good for getting more eyes on their product.
Just do what they do in F1. Let's just have a random car company sponsor a team. Because, right now, Aston Martin sponsors Red Bull, who's powered by Honda, which doesn't make too much sense to me. And then back in the day, Renault was sponsored by Lotus, I think, in some sort of capacity. Or maybe it was the other way. Lotus was on people's cars, like Caterham and whatnot, even though they weren't really Lotuses or something. And I was super confused by that back in the day too. So maybe we should just have Hyundai sponsor a random IndyCar.
I'm in.
All right.
I like Tesla better.
Yeah, I like
Tesla
better too.
I don't know. Maybe that should be our Twitter poll of the week. If you had a $200,000 blank check and you could buy a car, would you buy a Hyundai or a Tesla?
Well, I would buy a Hyundai and use the rest of the money to do other things.
See, we just found a hole in our poll right there. That's kind of that's a good hack there, Jess. I like it. That's forward thinking. All right, we're gonna move on. Patreon member, birthday boy, Butts is Nuts 4 has a fan question for us. So we just, Mike kind of said, asked us how we were coping through the current kind of break we're in with IndyCar. No races recently here last weekend, this coming weekend as well. Gives teams and drivers plenty of time to kind of kick back, relax. I know there's been a couple tests today, but George wanted to know which team or which driver needed that 3-week break the most between Mid-Ohio and Pocono to kind of recuperate a little or refocus or anything above those lines. So any thoughts on that, guys?
I feel like it was Alexander Rossi because I feel like he's right there on that bubble and he needs to kind of just reset and put his mind in the right place and get ready to finish this off, in the best way possible because he's totally going to win, as I've been saying since before the season started.
I'm going to go with willpower. And quick side note, stay tuned after Jess signs off the episode. I had to sit down with willpower over lunch this week in Philly, thanks to the Pocono PR crew. The last three races really, he made that couple bad mistakes in Toronto, a bad mistake in Iowa, and had a decent race in Mid-Ohio, though obviously not what he wanted after winning the pole. So I think this is a good time for him to kind of get back and review some film and really come charging out of the gates the last 4 races this year.
Yeah, I'm going to head in a different direction because you guys picked some drivers well up there in the championship. I'm going to go with Zach Veach. And, first off, good job on the scoop last week with the change of the crew between Veach and Andretti. That was a nice tidbit from the episode. And for Veach to get the new engineering staff from the 98 camp, hopefully can help turn what's been a very uneventful season around. Memory serves me correct, he was pretty solid at Pocono last year, and it was solid at Gateway, was solid at Portland, and obviously Laguna Seca is new for everybody, but I think he can have a solid last 4 races, hopefully, fingers crossed, because it's just never been there, unfortunately, this year. So hopefully the new staff will help, and plus now they get 3 weeks to kind of sit down. I don't know if they can do simulator work and get on the same page early on or just review some data right away. This definitely gives them time to kind of get their ducks in a row, and hopefully they put up a solid performance in Pocono.
I like it. I think all 3 good answers there, and we didn't go for any of the low-hanging fruit for a change. So another fan question from everybody's favorite author, Stephen King. I'm sorry, not the author, Stephen King. Who do you see retiring first? Tony Kanaan, Scott Dixon, Will Power, or Takuma Sato?
I'm going to go with TK. I think he's got quite a bit going on, in his personal life with his family and everything. And I just feel like he would enjoy that and be able to step away probably a year or so earlier than the other choices.
Yeah, I'm going to go with willpower. And just because of what history tells us kind of in recent memory here with Team Penske, with what happened with Montoya and Castroneves, kind of the old guard at Penske, if the results aren't there, they kind of just politely get told to go to IMSA on the Acura Penske side. And honestly, I don't see Power taking a ride at like Ed Carpenter Racing or AJ Foyt or anything like that if he was to be pushed out of Penske. So it may not be, him wanting to retire. It may be just if, let's say 2 years from now he has a down year, Penske may look to go in a different direction, so it may not be his choice. But that's just because of what history tells me I would go with Power.
Well, I didn't see anybody picking Will Power there. So in that case, I'm going to go with Takuma Sato. I think he's just a year or so, maybe 2 years younger than Tony Kanaan. And at some point he might want to, experience other things. I know he seems much younger than he really is, but maybe it's time for him to retire soon. I know that's not really a great reasoning, but that's my answer.
With Power?
What's that?
Were you going to go with Power?
No, I wasn't. I thought Power would be the one that all 3 of us skipped, honestly.
Oh, well, then you realize that I was a co-host on here and do stupid stuff like that, right?
Yes, you screwed up my nothing.
Oh, Lord, you guys. Yeah, I definitely would not have picked Power either. I don't know. I think he's got that mindset that he's going to be there for a hot minute. So anyways, moving on. We will get to the next fan question, and it is coming from Race Fan Heaven. So NASCAR has been in the news recently for some of their drivers fighting, having some words after races or after incidents, whatnot. Does INDYCAR need some more feisty behavior like this?
No. And yes, I will expand on that, but I always like leaving the no hanging there for a second. Yeah, I get it. I know people wanted to see Sage Karam and Ed Carpenter wrestle a couple of years ago. And there is some, shots taken here and there, even this year. Nothing is coming to mind now that we're talking about it, but the racing is so good in IndyCar. This year it's been an outstanding year for the most part, race in and race out. That what do we need some fighting for in pit lane? Yeah, there's some little shots taken here and there, but for the most part, it's not a big deal, and I'm completely fine with that.
Yeah, I would disagree. The only reason I would disagree, we don't need like fisticuffs in the pits or anything like that. Even like Bourdais and Sato, like that was probably the most I would want to see. I wouldn't want to see like punches or anything thrown like that. But when you get a driver who drops a passive-aggressive tweet, a la Rossi when he subtweeted Serbia, that was really funny. Or when it wasn't even a subtweet, he straight up replied to him, which was super hilarious. When you see stuff like that, or you see a driver give a really feisty interview in the pits where he throws somebody under the bus or something, like I like that, and I think it generates a lot of buzz on Twitter. It creates some conversation, which is never a bad thing. I just don't want it to get out of hand where there's just a brawl in the pits or anything that Kyle Busch has done in the last 5 years that people shake their head at. I wouldn't want that to kind of gravitate in IndyCar, but I wouldn't mind seeing some feistiness every now and then, which we do get. It's not like we never get that. Yeah,
we just don't have the same kind of fireworks. It's usually smaller stuff, real quick conversation, we'll call it, that happens, and usually nobody would even know about it if the media didn't actually like draw attention to it. The ones in NASCAR are a little bit more in your face, like drivers throwing helmets, jumping at each other. I don't personally want to see that in IndyCar, just because I think that, to me, it is more important for them to battle it out on the track and, may the best man win kind of thing. But I also don't want that to get taken the wrong way either, because I don't want the rubbing is racing kind of mentality. So I'm content with not having that kind of behavior.
Can't argue that.
No arguments at all. Final fan question of the night goes to our good friend and Patreon member, David Lighting Jr. At DLight47_ on Twitter. Apparently, I forgot that we had a bet on the Bears-Packers game, first game of the year, which I'm nervous about now, and it's like 3.5 weeks away, I think, still, because when the Bears play the Packers, nothing good usually ever happens. So, but looking forward to that, because our bet will be cashed in at Road America next year, so that'll be a good time. But he wanted to know, kind of back onto IndyCar driver news and whatnot, with Carlin this year, the curious case study of Carlin with the multitude of drivers they've used this season and what we've seen with the driver swaps. He wants to know if we think Carlin's going to stick with 2 drivers in 2020 full-time, so same driver each race in both of those cars, or if we're going to see what like we see this year, where there's a driver jumping in and out of one car or both cars, so that it's not just one driver driving the one entry the full season.
Now, is this what I want to see happen, or what do I actually think is going to happen? Because those are...
What do you think?
Okay, so those are... Yeah, I was going to say those are 2 different things. Unfortunately, I think that we are going to continue to see what we're seeing this year, and I think it's going to be due to budget issues, not necessarily the team, but the driver. I think it's going to be hard to find somebody who's going to be able to bring enough of a budget that they would want to run them the whole year. I wish that it would be the same too for the whole season, because frankly, I think they would be able to learn more and do better that way. But alas, I don't think that's what it's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm with Jess on this one. I think we could see, Chilton do the road and street in the 59, and maybe we narrow it down to, okay, there's an oval driver in that car all year, and then the other car could be a rotating sort of car again, I think is probably most likely.
Yeah, I think, right on. I think it does come down to Chilton figuring out what he decides for next year. I kind of like the rotating cars. I'm not going to lie. I like kind of seeing, new drivers come in and out. A couple teams back in the day prior to the new DW12s. A couple teams did that a lot, mainly Conquest Racing. I swear they had like someone new every weekend, and it was kind of interesting to see some, new blood in the car and see what drivers could do out there and inject some new life into the series. So I think that's kind of the direction they're probably going to head next year, even if Chilton does run a full season in the 59 car.
Fair enough. So, guys, it's everybody's favorite time of the episode with our favorite jingle, and I'm just going to dive right into it.
And now it's time for Pit Lane Parlay's Pitfalls of the Week.
And again, thank you to lovely editor Andy for providing his voice for that jingle. And we'll have a Joker Lab jingle coming up in the next week or so. Jess, I'll let you start it off.
I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm going to do one of my general ones because I seem to be on a kick lately with just generalizing instead of calling one specific person, team, whatever out. Guys, and this is fan directed this time, please, for the love of all that is holy, can we stop beating the dead IndyCar horses? Those being things like Milwaukee coming back, certain drivers coming back, certain teams doing this or that. Just let the past be in the past. We have a lot of really good news that's current or forthcoming, and I think we should focus on it and stop asking Robin Miller when Milwaukee's coming back.
When do you think Milwaukee is coming back?
What about Cleveland?
Oh, God, I forgot about Cleveland. It should be back next year.
I was like, wait, what?
Come on now. No, say all of them rolled into one. You just let it go.
What about a front engine IndyCar on dirt?
Ooh, now we're talking.
I wouldn't be against it, but even Robin Miller knows that one's not going to happen.
He still takes the time to answer it and talk about how great that would be. And it's just like, oh, you're just fanning the flame. Like, just say
it would be a fun throwback race someplace, but is it going to be like a new series? No.
Split number 3. Let's do it. Oh, God. We're not trying to incite anything here.
Don't even joke about that one.
Yeah, sorry, my bad. Well, good news, actually. Speaking of not joking about that, when I jokingly said I would cut off my hair if Marco finished on the podium, I don't remember where he finished at Mid-Ohio, but it was nowhere near the podium, if I remember correct. Was it like 15th or something?
It was not the podium.
Okay. Oof. Well, kept my hair, so that's good. Moving on, I'll go next. This one's actually a pitfall kind of to myself. F1, I don't know if people have been watching the last couple races, but starting at, I think it was Austria, these last 4 F1 races actually haven't been half bad. After I swore it off, in my defense, was a terrible race in Montreal. Kind of said, I wouldn't really watch anymore, but then, I kind of still cheated a little and turned it on. These last couple races haven't been half bad. There's been plenty of drama, been plenty of passing. There's been unpredictable finishes. The German Grand Prix, which I didn't get to comment on because I was gone last week, but the German Grand Prix was a really good race. It was one of the top 5 F1 races, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. With the rain and drivers crashing left and right and making it unpredictable. And then even Hungary last week. Hungary has always produced pretty brutal races, and even that wasn't half bad. So my pitfall is to people who probably correctly were hating on F1 and swearing it off like me, but then, not really giving it a chance to kind of recover, just, not tuning in, because these last 4 races have been really good. So I would, if you're watching at home, I would definitely give Spa a look when, I don't know, they got like 3 weeks off now, but I would definitely give the next race a look because they've had a couple good races here in a row.
Yeah, the German Grand Prix was a lot of fun. I only caught a little bit of this past weekend's race in Hungary, and it was decent. It didn't hold my attention very well, but yeah, I see your point taken there, because I have also started paying attention a little bit more, especially once I saw it was raining in Germany. Made sure to watch most of that race in the Mid-Ohio Media Center. So similar to Jess, I'm also pitfalling a general group, and it's the general group that sees IndyCars going hybrid and goes, oh my God, they're going to turn it into Formula E. All of the comments, and Robin Miller answered far too many of them in his mailbag. All of the comments on social media or the mailbag guys, just read the article. As we mentioned at the beginning of the episode, the whole engine it's not electric to begin with. It's the boost system. So with that being said, just read the article. It doesn't take that long to read. You can read a couple paragraphs of Pruitt's article, get an idea of what's going on, and then not leave stupid comments on social media. And now I know that's asking too much for some people.
But is IndyCar going back to Phoenix?
I hate you.
I was waiting for Jess to comment.
Jess was probably
biting my lip.
Yeah. It's being out of her ears because you just asked that question. Anyway, I'll leave it at that. Not too much to hate on this week. I guess that's a good thing. So I guess we'll see what NASCAR can do for us this weekend. See if we can have something to hate on next week. But I'm sure we'll find something. Again, guys, thank you for listening. Stay tuned. Will Powers, sit down with me. Will be right after Jess signs us off. It's just a short 6 or 7 minutes or so. And thanks to Will and Team Penske and Pocono PR for setting that up. And with that being said, Jess, go ahead and sign us off.
And guys, keep your lug nuts tight.
It's been up to willpower standards, maybe not the best season for you, even though still 5th in points. You're coming into Pocono where you've been good before. You're coming into Gateway the weekend after that where you've done good before. Does that make the stress maybe a little bit less heading into the next 2 races where you've won in the past couple years?
Well, I think it's funny, like being out of the championship, yes, is less stressful, there's no question, because, every little thing doesn't ride on... in a race, the tiniest mistakes can, be big consequences as far as the championship goes. So maybe you can take it a little bit more, be a bit more relaxed about that. But it's not a good place to be, honestly. Like I just hate not being in the fight. It's just, I would rather the pressure and I enjoy that. We'll learn some valuable lessons this season to carry into next year.
It's been, I think, one of the more unluckier seasons you've had this year with the gearbox failure at Coda early in the year or whatever the issue was, and just, pit entry, just overshoot it just a little bit in Iowa. When things like that happen that, some of them aren't completely in your control, how do you mentally get past that and focus for the next race? I know, from a competitor standpoint, it has to be difficult.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the mistake for me, and the lesson is that you can't dwell on that stuff too much, and you can't put too much pressure on yourself or set a goal if this is what I want to do this year. So, they're just, those things happen. It feels like to me that it happens more than anyone else, but that's not true. It isn't true. It's just, I was my fault. Toronto's my fault. There's definitely things that are within control. Obviously, the gearbox failing is an issue that we've resolved too. I mean, there's things that are not just straight up bad luck. It's things that were manageable. So you've got to look at it that way and rectify the issues. So, I think my approach in the next 4 races will be different and a little bit more like how I'll approach the season next year.
So will the next 4 races be more of a, let's gamble and go for the win at all costs and see what we can come up with, maybe some wild strategies, sort of like Simon did, was it the end of 2017 when he did that crazy 4-stop strategy at Sonoma?
There will be chances, but look, in the situation I am, first thing will be, if I'm not in a position to win, will be helping the teammates.
Sure.
So whatever strategy might help them out. But if I'm ahead of them and have a chance to win, yes, you may take some big risks on strategy, or you may cover Rossi, you may cover Dixon, right. That sort of thing. Like at Mid-Ohio, just covered Rossi all day.
Right.
That was my game. And, we successfully did that to help Joseph out.
You're racing at Laguna at the end of this year, which you haven't raced at. I think you might have raced there back in the day, along in your first couple years in open wheel. But did you get to test there early in the season when you guys tested for a half a day? And how do you think the race is going to play out? It's
going to be a very interesting finale because it's a tough track. track. Like the track is degraded a lot, so tires take a pounding. Actually, I didn't get much time there. I had an issue, so I'm not sure exactly how it's going to race, but I think it'll be very tough to pass, and I think it'll come down to strategy. I think it'll be a strategy / qualifying type race, and yeah, it will be interesting. It'll be very interesting to see how that all plays out. Sometimes you think there's no passing, but the tyres are great enough, and there's going to be a lot of passing.
Yeah, we've seen it at a couple tracks. I think it was Detroit and a couple of the road and street courses where the red tires this year have had a significantly larger fall off than, at least to me, in years past. Yeah. Do you think that could make a return or another appearance in Laguna?
That's definitely possible. I can't remember if we had that. I think it's been on the street courses that the red was a bit softer, so had fall off, but it actually created great strategy. Yeah, created great opportunities. So finding that balance, Firestone does a good job of that, trying to find that balance. They don't drop off too much, but they drop off enough to have some splits in strategy and such. So we'll see. I don't know. I think the tyres will degrade, though. I think they will.
Last question. Thanks for a couple minutes here. The rookie class has been, really impressive this year to me. Top to bottom, Colton's had a win and a pole. Marcus had a podium. Yeah. Santino's made some wild passes, and Rosenqvist almost beat Scott Dixon. Yeah. Is there one that's kind of stood out to you, or is this one of the more impressive rookie classes since you've been in IndyCar?
It's super impressive. Very, very tough field for rookies this year. And there's not really anyone. I think the guy who finished the highest in the championship is Rosenqvist. Pretty consistent, fast. Santino, as you've seen, has done a pretty good job all around, really. And is obviously can be very quick. And Colton Herter's been really quick, amazing in qualifying, just with outright speed. So you couldn't really pick one. Then you got Marcus Ericsson, who's actually done a very good job on the ovals this year. That's another championship within a championship right there. It's pretty cool.
40 points.
Are they? Yeah,
so
that's great.
Come down to the end of the season.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who wins that one. It really will. Because I honestly couldn't pick a winner. I think Rosenqvist with the team that he's in and how consistent he is. But yeah, cool. We'll see.